Okay, so what I want to talk about today in this video is the value of investing in gold and silver. Before this video begins, I just want to say a couple things. This is going to be a little bit of a different video compared to the previous ones. I'm going to be going over some charts, going to be going over some numbers. The other thing I want to talk about, I am not a financial advisor. I am by no means trained in this kind of stuff. All I can tell you about is the stuff that I have been looking at, the stuff I have been seeing over the past year or so, and what I think the future might hold. So don't take this as gospel, just take it as a little bit of my own personal speculation along with a little bit of my own personal advice for how to protect yourself in the future. Now, what do I mean by that? I think that the economy of this country is going to be going through some death throes in the near future. I have no idea if it's going to be in the next 6 months, 6 years, 10 years. I really don't know. But I don't think that the path we're on right now is going to be sustainable for much longer. And what does that mean for the economy? Well, the US dollar is not backed by anything of real value. It is backed by the military force and might, and it's backed by the idea that the US government is a reliable, dependable source for a stable currency. That is rapidly evaporating before our eyes. The U.S. government and its dollar, which a lot of countries use the U.S. dollar, at least historically, to stash away their own wealth. And usually bankers and investors, at least the big wealthy ones, are a little bit ahead the curve before the rest of the population is. So I started looking into this, and I was looking into buying silver a little bit less than a year ago, and I did end up buying some, and I'll tell you what, the return on my investment has very much paid off. Now, I got a little bit lucky. The timing was very good. Silver really hasn't been an exceptional investment for most of the past 30 years, right? So what really changed? Well, silver didn't become more valuable. Gold hasn't really become more valuable, but yet we've seen all-time highs, especially in the last 12 months from both these metals. What that is telling you is that the US dollar is losing its value more than the metals are actually rising in value. The US government used to have its currency backed by physical assets. It used to be that every US dollar was backed by a certain amount of silver, and that they got rid of that in 1964, which is why a lot of your old U.S. coins, you'll rarely ever, in at least your pocket change, see a quarter from 1964 or older. The reason being, those are 90% silver coins. Now these coins are made of nickel, zinc, some kind of alloy, effectively not really worth a whole lot in terms of their own physical value. The point is, look at this graph right here. Past 5 years for silver. 20s, 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 hitting 30s, hanging around the low 30s, back in the 20s a little bit, 30s, 30s, 30s. It is at $112.81 as it sits today, which is January 27th, 2026. I think that for those of you that are thinking about getting into precious metal investing and maybe haven't in the past, I don't think you're too late on this train. I really, really don't. Now, why do I say that? I say it because I think that these precious metals, of course, in my opinion, have a lot of room to grow. That's what I'm getting at. Where do I come up with this idea? I think gold is drastically undervalued compared to where it should be. Look at the past 5 years for gold. We've started to see it really climb recently, the past year, a little bit more level. If America's economy crashes and the US dollar is worth absolutely nothing. Now, I say if, and what I really mean in my head is when, because I think it is inevitable. I might be proven wrong by that, so I'm saying if for right now. But if the US economy crashes, the amount of dollars you have in your bank account, the amount of dollars you have stashed away in a little safe or under your mattress or whatever, is going to be absolutely worthless because it is not backed by anything other than the idea that the U.S. government is a strong, dependable source for a stable kind of currency, and that the U.S. government can be trusted and depended on to provide a stable source of currency. That's not true anymore. Large countries have been buying gold, going away from the U.S. dollar, and I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. So as the U.S. dollar continues to drop in value, and I do think that an economic collapse is inevitable. I'm honestly kind of surprised it hasn't happened already. You're going to want to have your money in places that are not the U.S. dollar. You're not going to want to have dollars because the dollars are not going to be worth anything, at least far and wide. It is my opinion that America is going to be going through two different things that have already happened in history. One of them is what is basically the fall of Rome, a large empire that had unquestionable dominance over the world stage for a very long time. And I think that the fall of America, just like Rome, is going to be hard and fast. And I think that a lot of people are going to be taken offside or really set back by it, not seeing it coming. I also think that the U.S. government, before its inevitable crash comes, is going to be going through stages of crazy hyperinflation. If we look back at the 1920s, when all kinds of countries in the world were going through the same kind of thing, I kind of expect a similar kind of experience to happen where the U.S. government is basically going defunct and the dollar is not worth anything, and there's entire nations that are caught off guard by this, as well as obviously people as well. If you're an individual, how do you protect yourself from this? The way how I'm trying to do that is by investing in gold and silver. This doesn't mean that it's going to work. Once again, I'm by no means a financial expert or even an advisor or even educated in this. This is just stuff that I've been looking at that I think is worth sharing, basically. I think gold and silver have a lot of room to go because I think the U.S. dollar is got a lot of room to fall. It's not so much that gold and silver are going to be worth so much more in the future. It's that the U.S. dollar is going to be worth so much less. The amount of money that you can spend right now on gold or silver is almost certainly going to only increase as time goes on. Now, I'll come back to that because I think that there might be a brief time where it'll go down, but like I said, I'll get back to that in a second here. So the point being is if you have some money that you want to stash away, putting it in your bank account might not be as beneficial as just having an actual physical asset that is an alternative to the US dollar that we can depend on in order to be financially stable. There's something I want to talk to you guys about, and that is the gold to silver ratio. If we look at the gold to silver ratio, if you were buying silver a year ago, you could have traded in basically 90 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. If you would have waited till the spring, it would have gotten worse for you. We'll say 105 ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold. Now, if you look at gold and silver ratio, this chart doesn't go back far enough. All I can do is to the late 90s. If you look at gold to silver ratio for all of human history, the gold to silver ratio kind of hangs around anywhere from 30 or 20 to 1. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But I would say on average, somewhere between 20 and 30 is probably about normal for at least most of human history. It's still, we're talking about 44 to 1 right now. It's finally getting back to normal. I still think that this gap can close. But think about this. If you would have bought 100 ounces of silver back in April of 2025, that same 100 ounces of silver you can now trade in for over 2 ounces of gold, whereas back a little bit less than a year ago, you would have not even gotten 1 full ounce for 100 ounces of silver. That's honestly a little crazy to think about, and it's even crazier to think about how fast that has gone down in less than 1 year. So if you are looking at trying to buy gold and silver, the strategy is this. I think gold is the more, trusted asset. It's going to be more stable. It's going to be a little bit more dependable. Silver is a little bit more volatile. Gold has always been a little bit more stable. And we're seeing a massive spike in silver. It's an all-time high. It's been an all-time high for the past 6 or 7 months now. Silver is just going kind of crazy. Now, here's what I think is going to happen in the future. If you buy gold and silver, and if you end up getting a decent amount of it, here's what I think is going to happen. I think that the market is going to continue to go up from now until the near future, right? And then at some point, I have no idea when, but in some point in the future, we're going to see the markets being manipulated to crash that price. Market manipulation in the precious metal sector is by no means a strange thing for people who know that sector. And so, in my opinion, I think right now they're letting the silver price climb to put attention on it, to have people buy it, or at least, dig it back up from their, safe that they haven't touched in 15 years, if that is the case, or more. And people are going to really start, thinking about, oh man, silver is really becoming quite valuable. I think that as it grows in attention with the media, I think that we're going to start to see the markets being manipulated to just tank the price. I think the strategy for corporations, for the government, which are one and the same thing these days, is going to be to, of course, acquire as much gold and silver as possible, but they're going to do that either by a government confiscation or by forcing the population into panic. I think that our current system, our trash leadership, is just a little bit too spineless to go for confiscation, at least off rip. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see market manipulation to get people to panic sell. If that is successful, that will kind of be the end of it. But if it's not successful, they could go for confiscation. I can definitely see that happening. Now, what does that mean if you have gold and silver? If you have gold and silver right now, and if you hold on to it, and you start to see these numbers, the prices just absolutely implode on themselves, and you're thinking, oh boy, I better sell now before I really regret it. I would highly recommend holding on to it and weathering that storm, because once that time is done, where the markets are done being manipulated, the government, whoever it is, feels like they have acquired enough gold and silver to satisfy their needs, when that happens, the prices are going to go absolutely hog wild. That's my opinion. It's me trying to predict the future a little bit, me trying to guess a little bit at what's going to happen. But I think this is a very, very real possibility. Once again, I'm by no means a financial advisor. I'm not a financial expert. I'm just a guy sitting in front of my computer, talking into a microphone, giving opinions. That's all this is. But if you have considered buying gold or silver in the past, if you're looking at the prices now and you think you missed the boat, do some more research. Do a little more digging. I think that it's probably going to be in your best interest to jump on this train now, even if it feels like you'd missed the boat. I think if you jump on this train now and you ride it out, you're going to be doing pretty well for yourself. That's about everything I got for this video. I would love to hear if anyone has any opinions in the comments. Hey, you're crazy, or here's what I think is going to happen, right? I'm just very curious to see what people are thinking right now with the precious metals market, what they think is going to happen next. Personally, I don't really have any idea, but I do have some thoughts of what could happen. I think silver is going to continue to rise, and I think that you still have a huge window to get into this where you could still do quite well for yourself. Now, don't look at precious metals. If you end up buying precious metals, don't look at precious metals as a way to get rich quick. This is primarily a way to preserve your wealth, right? However, it is my opinion that if you can hold on to it long enough, you could do very, very well for yourself. Now, that's just my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any insider information. This is just me looking at what is probably going to happen in the future, what has happened in the past in history, and trying to make a judgment call that will hopefully protect me and my family in the future when the economy does just absolutely implode. I think that that's almost inevitable. The economy imploding, I think, you can almost put your entire life savings on that and you'll probably do just fine. Now, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen 6 months from now, 6 years from now, 16 years from now. I have no clue. But I will say one thing. I don't think that this system, this U.S. government, this nation, is going to survive for the next 15 or 20 years. Now, it could be less, it could be more, but that's just kind of a ballpark. That's a lengthy one, at least in my opinion, at that. Hope you guys are having a good one. Would love to hear your thoughts.